Hey guys, it's Sophie from Build Your Jungle, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the easiest plants that you can start off with in your collection. I often talk about rarer plants, so I thought today would be a nice opportunity for me to actually talk about things that are really easy to care for, in my opinion. So the first plant is not specifically one plant, but a whole group of plants you can go for. So if you want something easy, but you don't necessarily want to be limited to just one plant, I'm recommending you all of the Sansevieria, also known as Dracaena. Some of them have been reclassified, but snake plants, basically all of the snake plants, almost as far as you can get to unkillable as any plant will ever be. This plant lives on the mantelpiece downstairs. None of us spend any time in the living room, and honestly this has gone months without watering, like 2 months. Before that I had like a whole month break, and like basically it's been neglected, and it looks totally beautiful and has all this new growth, all these light green ones. I really like this weird shaped leaf that's kind of come out like almost like a whale fin shape, but mini and long. This is the Mikado snake plant. I got this years and years ago from like Bloombox, I think. The great thing about snake plants is, so obviously it's, from what I've just said, it's so forgiving. Like if you forget to water, don't overwater them. That's a problem that a lot of people have when they first get houseplants, is thinking that if the plants look a bit sad that they need a bit extra water, but this one's really good at being resistant to drought. These kind of plants store water in their structures, so they really don't need that much water. In terms of light, they are so versatile as well, because while a snake plant will love to be in bright light and will thrive, like they can also do really well in pretty much any light situation. And if you have a part of your house that doesn't have the most amazing light, most likely if you're going to get anything to live there, it will be one of these guys. I also don't think that they tend to get that many pests, because there have been so many times where I've had pests in my collection and my snake plants, except for that one which was upstairs and touching loads of stuff when I had thrips in my room, and all the, oh wait, no, it wasn't that one, there's one up there and it was that one. Because I've got like the cylindrical one, and that's a Trifasciata laurentii, or the mother-in-law's tongue. Yes, I know it's weird that I say tongue and not tongue. I've been told that before. But yeah, so that one had quite a lot of thrips crawling on it, presumably from the other plants before where it was. And once I'd like rinsed them off and sprayed it, never saw any thrips again. Everything else it recurred on for another generation, but that, it was just gone. So which was weird. It was like they just weren't somehow bothered about it, and none of the others have ever got. I imagine because they're quite like hard leaves, they give this very nice structural silhouette to a room, and I imagine it'd be harder for pests to damage these plants, and maybe that would be the reason that they seem a bit more pest resistant. Anyway, nevertheless, absolutely top recommendation for new plant parents is something like this. So easy for you and a great way to start. The other benefit being that there is such a visual variety. Like some of my favorites are the Metallica, or there's the Moonshine, which are beautiful if you like more silvery or cool toned plants, things that stand out more than your standard green. And then obviously there's the Mikado thin ones, there's all different types, there's black coral, there's just so many. Next I'm going for a plant that I didn't expect to be an easy care plant, but was pleasantly surprised at how well it did. This is a Tradescantia Zebrina, and I'm going to put a picture on the screen now of what this looked like. And that's not what it originally looked like. This was originally given to me, someone bought it from Asda, and at the time I think it had been given very low levels of light because there wasn't much purple, but since I've had it, it's gone really dark and nice. It was even bigger than this. I recently propped it, because I was going to prop it a bit anyway, but I accidentally ended up knocking off one of the stems with my elbow. So I thought, okay, that's decided it now. These make beautiful, large hanging baskets. The leaves are very silvery. I don't know if you can tell how sparkly they are. And this is such standard care. The only thing with this is I've got it in normal houseplant mix, nothing special at all, just compost and a bit of perlite. You can buy ready-made houseplant mixes. And for any of these plants, I would recommend not just sticking it in straight compost. That's something I forgot to mention with snake plants, is they will prefer a cactus and succulent mix. For the Tradescantia and all the rest of the plants, you can get away with just using a standard houseplant mix. There's the base mix from Soil Ninja, which is what I'm going to be trying out soon. This has just got compost and perlite in it. Oh, it's really beautiful. They do make an impact, and if you like purple, something a bit different, these just grow so well. So you just want to water this when it's dried about halfway down. Sometimes in summer and stuff, you may notice they're a bit more thirsty. They grow so fast, so they're really rewarding to grow, especially because I feel like something new plant parents want and something I wanted was a plant that gave me quick results, and this is that plant. Yeah, they're great because they don't need anything special, just bright and direct light. It's not in a particularly humid space at all. And as you get more experienced and comfortable with Tradescantias, there's loads of cool ones to try. I only have 2, and this is definitely the easiest species. And if you want to get into propagating plants later down the line, these root so easily. I've never had a Tradescantia Zebrina prop fail on me, either in moss, water, or you can just stick it straight into the soil. But yeah, it's really beautiful, and I do think that if you're up for a bit of an unusual plant, this is quite an easy one to take care of. The next one I feel is the most obvious beginner house plant, but I'm going to show you that on the screen. This is what it used to look like. It used to be majestic, and I have chopped it many times, and now it's a very small guy with a lot more roots than makes sense for the amount of plant. This is Epipremnum aureum, or golden pothos. These can do okay in slightly lower light levels. I wouldn't recommend putting it in very low light levels because the growth really slows down, but you can if you really want to. But this has like nice bright yellow variegation, which is obviously why it's called golden pothos. These are vining plants. How I had it before, it'd be like these. That's a pothos behind me, so it grows in the same way as that. And these also propagate really easily in water. And the good thing about this, if you want to get into tropical or large foliage plants, that these can do with drying out a bit more in between waterings. Like I said, I need to let this grow back. I've decided to stop propagating over propagating plants for a bit, because this poor guy used to be so majestic. I'm so sorry, but it's got some new leaves coming on the way. One thing to note with these is that the more light they get, they can deal with bright indirect light if you want to give them that, but it's just that the option is there to give them lower indirect light if you prefer, if that works better for your space. But the higher light that you give these, the more variegation you get in the leaves. And if it's in too low light, then it can revert, like this leaf here. There is another species that's like a really high variegation version of this, and it's called high color, and that's just got a lot of the golden yellow like variegation on the leaves. But generally, of all the pothos, this is really easy. Most people grow these in house conditions, and it's versatile because you can either grow it up a moss pole and have it as a climbing plant, and then it'll have really big leaves, or you can just let it trail like the plants behind me and do its thing and look beautiful. And either way, it gives like a really nice tropical jungly feel. The next one is the Skindapse Pictus agris herself, the queen, from Tom Garden Centre. She is majestic and so easy. Skindapse actually used to be a type of, considered an epipremnum, which is the scientific name for pothos, and it was reclassified into its own genus because it was found to actually have all biological differences as science advanced. And it's easy to see why it was considered that, because they were very similar growth patterns, similar care needs. So if you can care for a golden pothos, you can care for a Skindapse pictus agrias. The main difference is the growth speed. I find Skindapse grows a lot slower than Epipremnum, but it has this beautiful silver blister variegation on the leaves. It's very sparkly. If you want to get more into Skindapses as well, or for the first time, I really recommend the Silver Yang, which is like this, but with really high levels of variegation and a slightly lighter green for the leaves. But again, this will be fine in a standard houseplant mix, in standard room humidity. They can dry out a little bit more like the Epipremnum, but they do not like to completely dry out. At the same time, they don't like to be overwatered. I've had Skindapses rot on me in the past when I overwatered it one time. It's always better to underwater than overwater, and with Skindapses, if you do, it'll give you signs that it's thirsty. It's much more of a vocal plant than Epipremnum is, because the leaves will slightly curl, and you'll notice it first in the leaves that are closest to the soil. They always produce a lot of aerial roots, so again, it makes it really easy to propagate and share plants with friends or make more plants. And I just highly recommend these. This shelf that it's on is about 5 foot back from a south-facing window, and the base gets some bright and direct light, but the top doesn't really get that much light, but to no ill effect at all. It's beautiful and easy, and I love it, and I can't wait to see it grow. Technically, this isn't even my plant. This is Aaron's plant, or a household shared plant, but technically I'm the only one who has loved her so far and I've done anything for and watered her and pest sprayed her. So yeah, I consider myself her adoptive parent. The final plant is a plant that I actually don't have. I've seen them a lot in person, but I read a story about this the other day and I could not include this plant. And it's the Apodistro, which is the cast iron plant. In the planty community, people have been talking about Legends of the Leaf, and I pre-ordered the book because I thought it sounded so cool. I love things that connect plants with people, and this was really interesting because it was the backstory and history of different plants, some which actually were pretty dark, I have to say, did not expect at all. But the Apodistra was so cool because I had no idea. I didn't know that much about this plant. I'd never heard many people talk about it. I'd heard like a few people say that they liked it, but I hadn't known that much information about it. And it turns out that it's one of the hardiest plants ever. They were so prolific in Victorian times. They used to be presented in these really cool vases. I think there's like a fancy name for that type of vase. I can't, conservatoire or something. No, I've made that up. Apparently, people have neglected these for very long periods of time because they've survived ridiculous circumstances where they just shouldn't be able to. Very cool nonetheless. And the general conclusion is that people are saying that you can do anything to this plant and it will still survive, which may be a slight hyperbole. I haven't had one myself, but I believe, based on this information, that this would be a very good houseplant for beginners. And they look very nice. It gives that kind of, there's this type of palm with this like the same texture on the leaves, and it looks like that. I can't remember. Or it also kind of reminds me like that, and then a bird of paradise, but they had a baby and they made a cast iron plant. The fact that it is so unkillable is why it is known as the cast iron plant. It's so hardy. So if you just treat it the same way as I have said to treat all the plants in this video, and just give it some bright direct light, water when the soil's partly dry, like halfway down, and use a mix with perlite and just compost, I'm pretty optimistic that you will have a good experience with this plant. And now that I've learned all this about it, I really want to get one. If there's any planty readers out there, I really do recommend this book. And again, I am not being sponsored at all. It's just a brilliant book. I really have enjoyed it so much. It's been my chilling, relaxing nighttime book. And I read a lot of plant books, but this one has been the favorite one that I've read in a very long time. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope that I may have helped you discover some easy plants to kickstart your collection, or maybe you're just looking to add some easier plants into your existing collection. Either way, I hope this was helpful. Feel free to subscribe to be notified when we next make a planty video, and we post daily on Instagram. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there. We recently updated free wallpapers. If you would like to buy some awesome illustrated houseplants designed by myself in hand, please visit our website, buildyourjungle.com, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.